Good afternoon. I am Professor B. Maharana from Sambalpur University. I have the pleasure to invite all of you to this online lecture session on behalf of the Department of Library Information Science and Professor B. Behera Central Library, who are hosting this program for 3 days on the eve of the celebration of International Open Access Week 2025. I welcome Professor Bidhu Bhusan Mishra, sir, Hon'ble Vice Chancellor, Sambalpur University, amongst us. I welcome Dr. Moumita Koley, our esteemed speaker for Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore. Mr. Madan Muthu, Director, Library of Jindal Global University, Shonipat, and my colleagues, Dr. Sabitri, Dr. Niranjan, Dr. Srinivas, faculty colleagues from different departments joining this program online today, and research scholars and students. As you all know that we have been celebrating this occasion every year as International Open Access Week to sensitize the academics here at Sambalpur University and our sister organizations relating to open access. As you all know that this year's theme is who owns our knowledge. If you look at our Vedic tradition, which says that knowledge is considered as a divine, eternal, and impersonal revelation, not the property of any individual or group, and it's not owned, therefore, but perceived and transmitted. But over the period of time, knowledge is considered as a property, intellectual property, and therefore, the developments that has happened, now the question has come. This question is a critical question for our time, as it challenges us to examine the control and accessibility of information in rapidly changing world. This program, we have been trying to explore the democratization of knowledge, allowing the greater access to education, critical thinking, and independent choices for everyone, not just for those who afford it. Then challenging traditional models, which is already in vogue now, control of research and scholarly outputs, which is affecting our public good, empowering the communities, researchers, students, and communities by promoting transparency, collaboration, and innovation. Then community-driven solutions where the community-aligned approaches, such as publishing in open access, particularly in diamond and gold open access, we create communities more control over the knowledge they produce. And finally, retaining the ownership. The authors and the creators understand their rights and retain the ownership of their intellectual property. So this brief, I set the tune of this program, and with me, we have our Vice Chancellor and my colleagues. Now I'll request our librarian of this university to briefly introduce our guests, because we will spend, as you assured, we'll spend very less time in the formalities, and mainly we will listen to the talk today by Dr. Moumita Koley, madam.
Thank you, sir. Namaskar. A very good afternoon to one and all present over here and online. I welcome you all to this 3 days International Open Access Week on the theme Who Owns Our Knowledge, being jointly organized by Department of Library Information Science and Professor B. Behera Central Library, Sambalpur University. On this special occasion, I would like to introduce our guest, our today's chief guest, Professor Bidhu Bhusan Mishra, sir, Honorable Vice Chancellor, Sambalpur University. Our guest of honor, Dr. Madan Muthu, sir, who is presently working as a Director Library, Jindal Global University. He is a well-known figure in the field of library information science in the country. Dr. Madan has more than 20 years of experience in research and academic librarianship. His research interests are scientometrics, open access, and scholarly publications. His other interests are open data, open educational resources, and library technology. Today's chief speaker, Dr. Moumita Koley, madam. She is working as a consultant with International Science Council for the future of scientific publishing project and a visiting scholar of DST-CPR, ISC Bangalore. Dr. Koley's research interest is focused on making science available to everyone. Her research area are open science, open source drug design, citizen science, research assessment, etc. Dr. Koley has completed her PhD from the Technical University of Vienna, Austria in 2010. She was the recipient of the Best PhD Thesis Award from the TU Vienna. She was also awarded Uni Invent Award from the Austrian Ministry of Science and Research. She continued as a postdoctoral researcher in TU Vienna and Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore, and investigated problems in the research field of metal and enzyme catalysis. Thank you, madam, being with us today on this 3 days International Open Access Week celebration.
Now I'll request my colleague Dr. Sabitri Majhi to present briefly the objectives of this program.
Honorable dignitaries and dais and esteemed dignitaries present online and dear participants. It's my pleasure to present before you objective of the celebration of International Open Access Week 2025 at Sambalpur University, aligned with the global theme of International Open Access Week 2025, Who Owns Our Knowledge? First and foremost objective is to raise awareness among students, researchers and faculty about the principles and benefit of open access, that research output, data and educational resources should be freely accessible, reusable and shareable. Then to encourage the Sambalpur University research community to publish and deposit their work in open access repositories and adopt open licensing, thereby enhancing visibility, readership and impact of Sambalpur University affiliated scholarship. And then to promote a dialogue at Sambalpur University about question of ownership of knowledge, who controls the research data and output, whose voices are included and excluded, and how university can foster more inclusive and equitable knowledge production. This ties directly with global theme. Then to build institutional capacity and infrastructure at Sambalpur University for open access practices. For example, establishing and strengthening an IR named Shodha Sambala, guiding authors on rights retention, providing training on open access publishing model and data management. And then to foster culture change and community engagement, which involves librarian, faculty, student, policymaker and publishers in Sambalpur University in workshop, seminar and discussion, so that open access become a norm rather than the exception, contributing to broader societal benefits. With this brief presentation, I conclude here. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, if Madan, are you there? Madan sir? Okay, he is not. Now I'll request our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Bidhu Bhusan Mishra sir, to speak.
Thank you, Professor Maharana, for organizing such a timely dated, wonderful workshop on Open Access Week. This particular week starts with the theme, Who Owns Our Knowledge? Our esteemed speaker, both online and offline, they are highlighting on this particular issue. First of all, we should consider this knowledge as a property or as a resource. If you talk about, if you go through our own tradition, with our own tradition, if we consider knowledge as a property, naturally any property can be stolen out by somebody. But when knowledge is such a type of property which cannot be stolen, but the more you distribute, it goes on something like goes on multiplying many times. So when it multiplies only when you distribute them, so the theme has rightly been identified, who owns the knowledge, who owns our knowledge. Actually, if you talk in that perspective, that knowledge which helps us in particular, if you talk about knowledge, is that which liberates us from bring us from dark to light. And in this context, when the society owns the knowledge and distribute each one of the members of the society, naturally it get multiplied as well as help the society to come out of that darkness. The development of any country precisely depends on how rich you are in terms of knowledge. And this concept of open access obviously arises when knowledge was treated as a property and somebody owns it through our intellectual property right and other kind of copyrights and other things like protection is given to them. But they can also be compensated in terms of royalty. And also the most important part is when you make it open access, naturally there will be more citations. And when there will be more citations, people will know your knowledge, what you have done, and ultimately your credibility in the society as a knowledge worker is definitely going to enhance. With these few words, again I thank and wish each one of the participants present over here. My special thank to Dr. Moumita Koley, ma'am, who is online. Ma'am, namaskar. So, and Dr. Mahan, he's now, maybe he might be there somewhere, but he'll join in time. And my colleagues present over here with me, and my dear students who are also present in my front. Thank you everybody who is participating in such a wonderful workshop, and where we'll celebrate it as a part of International Open Access Week. Thank you each one, and wish each one of you will definitely gain from this particular kind of workshop and will help in increasing your knowledge and also access to different journals and in writing good quality research papers. Thank you everybody. Namaskar.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your inspiration and providing administrative support for organizing this 3 days program. Now the time has come to listen to our esteemed speaker, Dr. Moumita Koley. Madam, it is over to you, madam.
Okay. Thank you, sir, and my warm welcome to all of you in the audience, and of course, respected Vice Chancellor and also Professor Maharana and all the other guests there. So let me just try to share my screen. So I hope my screen is visible.
Yes, now it is visible. Please continue. I'm leaving the hall. I have some other points. Please proceed.
Okay. So as already has been discussed that this week Open Access Week's theme is Who Owns Our Knowledge, and in this today's lecture I will try to unpack this complex topic that who owns our knowledge. It's of course not that simple to say that if the commercial publishers are owning it or the researchers are owning it, because there is a quite complexities on the copyright issue here. But I will try to make it a little bit more clear to everyone, so that next time when we write research papers, then we can ask this question to ourselves and take necessary steps so that at least the knowledge does not go to the hand of the commercial publishers. Because it's at the end the intellectual property of the researcher, or even if it can be the intellectual property of our country. So to unpack it, let's first have a quick look into the global publishing landscape. Which are the major countries that's now publishing a lot? Of course, there are this top 10 countries that you can see here. Of course, China is leading in publishing now. They are publishing a lot each year, about 800,000 publications now per year. US was, of course, was the leader, but slowly China took over. India also are now in globally third position. These are data taken from Web of Science. And this is where the right-hand side you see it's the India's knowledge production trajectory. Now, the reason why I'm showing this is to give an idea that how much knowledge, how much papers is globally been published each year. And so it is definitely imperative to ask that who is owning all of this knowledge. And before going to those that particular question, I will take you through certain more important issues and information that will help us to understand this year's Open Access Week's theme in a much deeper context. Look, I showed that the knowledge production has increased, and also you will then see who are the publishers, who is publishing, because as a researchers we are creating the knowledge, but then to disseminate we take help of the publishers. And of course we know this name of most of these publishers, Elsevier, Springer Nature, who were historically known for publishers. But if you can see also, there are now few open access publishers like MTPIR, Frontiers, also publishing a lot, as you see in these graphs. And there is another issue now, because previously, and specifically here, a lot of esteemed colleagues from library are here who all knows that how difficult it was to negotiate for subscribing to the content. But right now the problem is not just only for subscription. When there is so much of papers being published, many of them, of course, are still under subscription, but many of them are now open access. And to make them open access, there are open access journal, and which charges a very hefty amount called article processing charge. And you see in this graph shows from 2019 to by 2023 how this knowledge production has increased. Sorry about it. Just give me a sec. Sorry. Yeah, my daughter just came from school, so I just had to open it. Anyway, sorry, I will just go back to my presentation. I hope it's still visible. Okay. This right-hand graph shows that how much money now is being spent on APC. Now, let's come back to the Indian context, because now if we see that being so much of knowledge being produced now in our context, there are two situations. One is that how we can get access to all the knowledge that has been produced. And the next one is that how we can make all the Indian knowledge accessible to everyone, so that the knowledge propagates and new knowledge can be built on that. So for accessing this knowledge, right now we definitely had the one nation, one subscription. The model that India has now adopted, and it's now already implemented from 2025. So all the public institution in the country will get access to 30 publishers, most of the content from these 30 publishers. I hope that in Sambalpur University also the researchers and the students are being able to get the benefit of this deal, because Government of India is now spending a huge amount of money, which is $241 million per year. And this is really almost the double of an estimation. So definitely publishers have negotiated really hard to get as much as money as in subscription. And I took this data from one of the blog that Dr. Madan Muthu has published. So now the question is that, of course, we now have a way to access to knowledge, but still it's for 3 years this deal is. So I think it's very important to understand few fact on this, because we need to understand if this is a sustainable model for a long term, because 3 years is a very short time frame. And within this 3 years, we should understand that is it beneficial? Is this deal beneficial for India or not? What are the shortcomings? What are the opportunities that this deal actually are providing to us? So one thing is that some of the private universities are facing new challenges because of the ONOS deal. Few big private universities, because now their negotiation with the publishers are getting very difficult, because government is already providing a very handsome amount to this publishers, and then they expect similar. So they face quite an increase while they want to subscribe. Another one is that while we know that this ONOS is applicable through ONOS, all the public institution, even a college, can now access to the content of the 30 publishers. But are there proper infrastructure? Because many public institutions in India even doesn't have internet connection or even proper good IT infrastructure. So even if on theory the access is possible to build such an infrastructure, it's not an easy feat, and for that also need a lot of investment. Are there enough investment for it? What about the general public? Because this is also another important issue. The general public should have a scientific temperament. They should read scientific, at least they should get access to scientific literature so that they can verify facts. But with ONOS, of course, the content is not accessible to general public. These are something which we need to understand to make this kind of deals better for future. Now, another thing that I would like to highlight, because in India, we were so far been a lot very dependent on Sci-Hub. Many of us many papers would not be available in even if you have subscription to many journal. And that case, Sci-Hub used to be really a lifesaver. But Sci-Hub, because of this new ruling by Delhi High Court, it's now blocked. So now there is a dual problem for many Indian researchers, specifically for private university. Of course, they have to have a way to use Sci-Hub. And for public universities, even theoretically, they have ONOS. Because there might not be infrastructure in many remote colleges and universities, they still probably was dependent on Sci-Hub. With the blocking of Sci-Hub, now there is a big problem. So, what is that one where so far is giving? Of course, access, but we can still be optimistic about this deal. We have spent a lot of money that it will definitely help a lot more researchers. But we need to have certain caution, and also we need certain evidence for future. Because let's have a look into this graph. As you see in this graph, you will very well can see that this is the green line is how globally the open access content is increasing each year, and how the subscriptions content and or non-way content are decreasing. So more and more journals are moving towards open access mode. So that means that a subscription deal in future might not really be that valuable, because a lot of content will be open access. In that case, we might be making a double payment, because many of the content, even for awareness at this point, is also this question. Because if globally whatever is published, more than 55% is open access, so we should have been paying much more less, like 45%. For the 45% we would have been, but it says that we almost paying 4 times more. I can understand that it has been extended to the whole country. But still, we need to do a cost-benefit analysis soon enough, after at least 2 years of this deal. Sorry. Now, also, I wanted to show a little bit of breakup. So these are all been taken from the blog that Dr. Maharana Muthu has published. And if you look into this, that these are how much content is open access in this yellow, and the red is which is still blocked. So for example, from US, whatever is getting published, at least nearly 60% we can still read for freely. And many European countries, we can read a lot of paper are free of cost. But when we talk about this open access content, there are various layers to it, because not all of them are open access to gold open access mode. They can be hybrid, they can be even green open access as well. So I don't know if everyone is a little bit aware of these terms like green, gold, hybrid, diamond, open access. I thought it might be, since this lecture is more to make researchers aware of and librarian aware of various aspects of publishing, and then bringing it to the context of this year's open access theme, I thought it would be also good to give this definition a little bit. So what is gold open access? When there are many journals which are fully open access. So all the contents of this journals is accessible to everyone in the world, irrespective of from where you are accessing. It can also be accessible to the general public, but for that, researchers has to pay APC, and this APC can be as high as 10,000 euro, for example, in Nature. And usually, average APC is something ranging between 2,000 to 3,000 US dollar. And usually, these contents are licensed under CC-BY licenses. I will come to that to the details of licensing a bit later, but just understand that most of these OA journals, actually the contents are licensed under CC-BY. Now, hybrid gold is a very interesting model because it's still a subscription journal, but if somebody wants to have a lot of money, wants to make their paper open access, then they can pay again APC and make only their paper open access. So this is a very non-equitable model, and there is a double payment involved as well, because of course somebody is already subscribing the whole journal, but some contents is open access, so the person who is subscribing is already paid. So it is in a double payment mode to some extent. Diamond open access, of course, would be the best option. It's free to read and free to publish, and usually run by the scholarly societies, and many institutions support, government support. And in Latin America, there are many such diamond open access journals which has a flourishing ecosystem of diamond open access journal. India also have certain diamond open access journals which are good journals, and this is a mode we definitely want to explore. And green open access is a very interesting model, of course, because the initial discussion on open access really started from the green open access, that since researchers are doing all the work, they are doing the research, they are writing the manuscript, and then the reviewers were also researchers doing the peer review for free. So at least a version of the final accepted manuscript should be available to everyone through an institution repository. Just now, it was discussed that Sambalpur University is making their own institutional repository, already have a repository. So that's definitely a very good way to go about and archive all the content of the university in that repository. So there is this green open access, but there is an issue of embargo, which I can, because when this policies of green open access came about, journals started to put embargo that you cannot put your paper on an institutional repository before 1 year, or there is an embargo of 1 to 2 years that's imposed by journals. Now let's have a look into the same graph as I showed, how much of for various countries, how much of their contents are open access, how much are the closed access, and in this I show is that how much is in various different mode. If you see right now, the gold is open access is definitely dominating in open access, and so that means countries are paying a lot to make their content open access. Of course, these are all European countries. They're all high income countries, and they can afford to do it. And even China, which still has not made the content open access. This is 2023 data, but actually China is now paying a lot in APC. So soon they will also have a lot of their content in open access through this gold open access mode. And green open access never really took up. You can see that actually this green part is where how much of the content is available from institutional repository. Because of course publishers never really allowed it, and there was not proper implementation. There were various reasons for it. And if you see, I think that's why it's important that this graph is that look at India. Our content, less than 40% of our content is openly accessible. And we already have a subscription deal, and then there are a lot of gold open access. So probably we're also paying quite a bit in APC. We're paying quite a bit in subscription as well. But still, most of our content, more than 60%, is not openly accessible. They're not open access yet. And so as I already mentioned this, that Indian papers are not open access. There is a discussion that ONOS will soon negotiate a deal on open APC as well, but definitely that will again be costly affair, and because since India already spends so less on research and development, only 0.6% of their GDP on R&D, whereas any advanced countries, Western countries, China, everybody spent at least 2% of their GDP. So we are already quite behind. So more and more R&D budget then will go only for publishing, which is really not good for country's research ecosystem. Then there is another issue, because if, as I showed it, India publishes a lot, Indian researchers definitely, we don't have money to pay APC, so we don't publish that much in the gold mode. We publish mostly in this subscription journal, or you can call them hybrid journal right now as well. And these journal requires that author transfer their copyright to the publishers. So this is the point where from the authors, the publishers become the owner of the knowledge. Whereas in the green open access model, you can still actually keep a copy with you and make it that content available. So probably that is a way to go towards knowledge sovereignty. So there are two important aspects here that we should be much more cautious now about transferring copyright and also adopting the green open access mode. And for this green open access mode, it is not a new discussion, of course, because the first Budapest open access declaration came in 2002. And there was that mandate, that was discussion on green open access, and NIH, the major funding agency in US, already have this public access mandate. And there was an embargo option in this. Public access mandate is generally it's essentially a green open access mandate, and there was a possibility of an embargo of 6 months to 1 year in this previous. But in 2024, they have mandated that all the contents that the NIH is funding, it should be available through the repository and without any embargo. So immediately after acceptance, it should go to repository. India, like CSI, DST, DBT also had their own open access mandate, but as you can see that the mandates have there, but the implementation has been very poor. So Indian researchers hardly uses institutional or central repository to deposit their final accepted version of their manuscript. So how you can make your content open access and also own your own knowledge, or at least the country can own the knowledge. So of course you should start from pre-printing. So when you have your first version of your paper, now you're ready to submit to a journal, and before submitting to a journal, you should submit to a preprint server. In each research discipline, there are now a preprint server, and it has become quite acceptable practices, and most of the journal now allows preprinting. So this is a practice will make content of a paper already accessible to everyone, and this preprint, somebody can put a license of CC BY. I will come to that licensing a little bit later. So after that, it just goes like general. After preprinting, that particular version can be submitted to journal. All the steps just go, and when a journal is finally accepted, it is definitely the best option also to now strongly implement this green open access policy. Please put one version of your papers into the institutional repository and assign CC BY licenses, because finally, in the venues where most of the Indian researchers publish, which is subscription journals, there it actually usually the journals, first of all, authors have to transfer the copyright to journal, then they are no more the owner of their own knowledge. And publishers not only now own the right of the knowledge, they then also publish it under some licenses called CC BY and CNB, which is a very restrictive license, which has a lot of reuse challenges. Whereas CC BY licenses, here it is much more better, because then you can have much more reuse. Somebody can reuse the knowledge and build up on it, which is definitely the motto of science. Now, why should we think about the green open access? Because look at that if you are publishing in a journal does not mean your content is already safe and secure. Just look at this example, this paper from Nature, that so many journal contents disappear. And this is also a famous gift for a chemistry journal, which was the contents was unavailable for at least 8 months. And finally, after a lot of negotiation, the content could again be accessed. So for all the papers that has been published in this quite a prestigious chemistry journal was completely unavailable. So looking at all of this situation, it is always better for our countries to at least keep one copy of our paper in institutional repository. That's really a step towards knowledge sovereignty. Now, I think I talked about the licenses quite a bit, many times. Of course, I'm not a copyright lawyer or someone who understands all of the nitty-gritty of, but from my understanding of this licensing, I will just try to explain a bit. So, for example, I already mentioned the CC BY licenses, which is like BI stands for the attribution, and so user. If a content is under CC BY license, that means as a user, if I am using content from that, I should actually give credit to the original creator. So, for example, I should refer to the creator. That's it. But I can freely use the content by just crediting the original author. Definitely for knowledge propagation, this is the best license, because this is the purpose for the knowledge that we created, that other can get benefit from the knowledge. But of course, giving credit to the original creator. Then comes CC BY NC. That is non-commercial. I can license my paper that, okay, yes, you can use it, but for non-commercial purpose. So you can do research on it, but don't use my content and then make a commercial product. So that is a little bit restrictive. Depending on what kind of research you do, you can, of course, put this license as well, because you are not excluding researchers. They still can use and build upon it, only that you are not permitting commercial activities. CC BY SA, share alike. That means that if my content is under this, so somebody who is taking from this content and build upon it, then they're obliged to put their content also under these licenses. Whereas CC BY ND means that no derivative is permitted, which is kind of much more restrictive. And I think this is what I mentioned before, that most of the publishers in the subscription journal insist on this license, that is CC BY NC ND. That means after authors even transfer their copyright, now when the publishers releases it, they don't allow any commercial, and they don't even allow any derivatives as well. So they really restrict further knowledge building putting these licenses. However, the same publishers then sell the content to AI company, because this is now a newer trend that is happening. Now publishers, since they are owning the knowledge because of the copyright transfer, they are freely now selling their content, selling as a researchers, whatever knowledge we have created, they are selling it to the publisher, to the AI companies for all the LLM models to get trained. So they're again making money on that front as well. So that's why this is very important that as a researchers not to transfer the copyright to publishers, because that's how our knowledge is not getting benefited for other researchers, but only for commercial use by the publishers. So finally, as I can just quickly summarize that what I said just now, that of course, start from preprinting. Then once the paper is accepted, please put it in an institution repository. We still don't know about this because subscription journals still have this embargo practices, and we don't know if we immediately self-archive it, if the publishers will come behind us or not. This is something definitely ONOS could have addressed, but still this is an ambiguity. But definitely right retention, this is also, of course, it's a practice that should be now adopted, but as a researchers, we don't really have a way around it. So as a country, as an institution, we really need to different universities really need to look into it, that how, at least as an university, institutional level, university level, how they can, researchers' content is licensed to the content is actually under university, the right is with university, and then they give a publishing right to the publishing company. That way, at least selling of the content to the AI companies without any authority from the researcher or any taking any yes from the researchers will be stopped. And of course, repository infrastructure is needed to be now expanded, and there are a lot of advanced tools. So we can really make the green open access now a successful way of making things open access in Indian context. And finally, I would stop with this news that the Diamond Open Access Summit, which is the third summit, will happen in India in 2026. So there is no single way out for now to make content open access or to break this publisher's stronghold on our knowledge. So if we have to own our own knowledge, then we need to explore all the different avenues. And for that, definitely, we have to make our own country's journal ecosystem, which are many a time run by CSIR or the science academies, much better and stronger ecosystem. And that's why we need to support the Diamond movement as well. So please save the date and, if possible, attend this. Thank you.
ये तो वीडियो ऑन करो ना. Thank you so much, madam. For talk on open access. Actually, this has set the tune for our celebration of Open Access Week, and you have touched upon almost all the points of open access, starting with the Indian initiatives and what does open access mean, and then the ONOS and its issues to be addressed. Then the issues with the government and the private universities, so far as the subscriptions are concerned, and different OA models, embargo to be taken care of, which is as a hurdle for open access. And even though the open access contents are increasing year by year at a steeper rate, but there are a lot of content still under the paywall access. So that actually need to be addressed. And while transferring the copyright, particularly the authors, the scientists who actually, when submitting their papers, we are transferring the copyright. So it is, we are transferring the ownership of the paper to them. So which you were suggesting that the IR models, which actually where the authors are transferring their publishing rights, not the copyright, still they retain that copyright. And the publishers' issues and what we need to do. That might have actually cleared the idea of open access and how each stakeholder is going to play with this new model of scholarly publishing. We are extremely thankful to you for accepting our invitation and delivering this talk. This has been a real insightful and one of the very informative one. Now I'll request the participants, any of you, if you have any queries, anything in your mind, you can just raise your hand and unmute yourself and ask. We can take a few questions and then wind it off. Anybody, just raise your hand or you just unmute and introduce yourself and you put your question straight away. Okay, Sivasankar, please go ahead, unmute and please ask your question. Sivasankar, K. Sivasankar. You raise your hand, K. Sivasankar. Okay, so you write your question in the chat box. If you are unable to unmute, give Sivasankar, you can write your question. In the meanwhile, if anybody else who can come forward, you just unmute yourself and go ahead straightway. First of all, think, okay, Mohammed is your presentation. Your question, please. Keep Sivasankar. So it's now open to everyone. And now, if you have any queries, questions, we have a couple of minutes. We can. My question is, will it be there? Ma'am, can you see the question?
I think even, sorry, so it's a question about that if there is any chance to advise Government of India to fund setting up institutional repositories across all the institute. I think we can advise this to government. I mean, if the libraries wanted to know about, like, set this up. Setting up institutional repositories really, I mean, again, I'm not a library person, and my experience and expertise, this is really negligible. But what I understand that setting up such a digital infrastructure really does not cost much. So
yes,
it can be done very easily, and it's not necessarily that each and every institutes also need to have, because DST and DBT had made the central repository, the Science Central. So we can actually ask DST and DBT to revive that project. So the institute who can make their own repository can do it, who cannot can use the central repository. So in my opinion, the repositories infrastructure definitely is a point, but it is not really that of a big problem. It is to mobilize the researchers to submit is a problem. Okay. And then there is a question, what is black open access? Sorry, I have no idea what is black open access is. My apologies. I can try to look into it and see.
Can I?
Yeah, please do so.
Madam, actually, the first question that the IR infrastructure, actually, ma'am, now the Government of India through different grants, they are providing to build up digital infrastructure. The other day, I was going through the PM Usha funding that has come to our university and some other university in the state. In the soft infrastructure, they have provisions for building of higher. Not higher exactly, but digital infrastructure, like the digital library infrastructure, so that we can also think of the higher whatever expenses for that, and we can.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's a good initiative. Anyway, what I looked into the black open access thing, actually what is the Sci-Hub is doing, that is what exactly in the internet it's called as a black open access. Like the pirated site, what is legally called is known as black open access. So for example, when we used to access, or we can access content from Sci-Hub or any other such kind of website, then it's called black open access. Then the next question is there any financial support or funding for government or private agencies to help students publish their research paper in open access? So in that case, I assume that it is about the article processing charge. So as I mentioned, through ONOS, the next phase, government wants to support article processing charge. Of course, that would not be applicable to the private universities, only for the government, but how it will and what amount all is yet to be seen, because it's still it's a next step in ONOS. Then I see one question: what is Plan A? So Plan is, so there is a there is a consortium called Coalition ACE, which is a consortium of funders, mainly from European national funders, and there are few philanthropic funders also in this consortium, like Gates Foundation, Wellcome Trust, etc. So they together formed a consortium which is called Coalition ACE, and their plan for making all the research that they fund open access. That is, their plan was called Plan ACE. So initially they thought that as a consortium, they are very powerful funders. If they push the journal, most of the journals within a certain couple of years will actually transition from the subscription to the full APC-based open access model, and the APC will be quite reasonable. But what has happened, obviously, that journals did not transform them into fully open access, rather they are hanging in this subscription hybrid mode. So there's still subscription, they're still taking open access charge to make one or two papers, whoever it can afford, specifically the European and the US, and now even China. Only those papers are making open access, rest of the papers are under paywall, a very non-equitable model. So what Plan has envisioned actually created a lot of inequality, and that's why Plan has realized that they have made a big mistake, and then that's why now they are fully supporting the Diamond Open Access movement, Diamond Open Access. They are really trying to make Diamond Open Access as an alternate model. And of course, they support pre-printing as well. So that is what exactly the plan is right now position is supporting Diamond and pre-printing. Is self-archiving processes beneficial for publishers? No, of course not. It is beneficial for researchers, because if I can put one copy into an institutional repository which is well accessible and accessible to everyone, then publisher would not want that is their business model would fail. So the content that I have created before the typesetting model publisher makes is very looking nice. If I put in an institutional repository, that is the self-archiving, would not be beneficial for publishers. It will be beneficial for researchers, research community, general public. So I kind of tried to answer all of the questions which was in the chat box. I hope it clears the doubts.
Okay, this was again. I would like to thank Madam Dr. Moumita Koley for insightful session today. Sambalpur University, I'd like to thank her. Our Hon'ble Vice Chancellor and Madan actually had made this event to happen. When I was talking to him, then things come up, and then we could have Moumita Madam that way. Thank you, Madan, for that. I'd like to thank Savitri, Dr. Bikram, Niranjan, Srinivas, all of my colleagues from Sambalpur University, all the research scholars, students, faculty colleagues from different departments, particularly our alumni from different institutions, Professor Josna Sahu, Professor in Berhampur University, Dr. Nihar Kantapatra is from ISER, Berhampur, and many of them, Jayanta Sahu from IIT Hyderabad, and many of them, I can't see all of them. I thank all of you for joining in such a large number and making this event to happen. In the following days, we have some competitions to engage our students and scholars into the concept of open access, to debate competitions, poster making on various issues of open access, and also some other quiz programs and all. and the day following we are going to have a valedictory. So on behalf of the institute, Sambalpur University, and all of us, I thank Moumita Koley madam once again for making this happen. Thank you. Thank you, madam.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. It was nice being here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye. Bye-bye.
Off by you. Okay,